shortest path. Today we will see how to use Streamlit to build an awesome web application. Streamlit makes it very easy to build web apps using only Python without the need of HTML, CSS or JavaScript. Let's get started. Let's start with creating a new file and let's name it app.py. To save the file, we'll create a folder and then we'll name it Facebook Ad Campaign Dashboard, and we're going to hit create. Now we have that app.py file. We're going to start importing our libraries, namely pandas. Next we're going to import Streamlit. After that we will do Plotly Express, and lastly we will import one more library called Numerize, which I will show how to use later on in this video. After we import our libraries, we will do st.setPageConfig to give the web app a page title called Facebook Ad Campaign Dashboard. After giving the page a title, we will set the layout of the page to wide, which I will demonstrate later on, and we'll also set the initial sidebar state to expanded. After that, we will type in Streamlit run app.py in the terminal, which should start the web application, and there we go. We have a web app up and running with the given title. Next, we'll use the st.cacher decorator to make our load times faster, and then we will define a function to read our data into the project. To do that, we'll use the pandas read CSV function to read our file into the project, and then we will convert the date column in the original dataset into a pandas datetime object using the pandas2_datetime function. After that, we'll simply return the original data frame. Let's explore our data a little bit. First, we have a date column which we just converted into a datetime object. Next, we have the campaign names, campaign A, B and C. After that, we have age and then gender. And then we have our numerical data in the form of impressions, clicks, ad spend and conversions. Now we will simply call our function to read our data. After that, we will initiate 3 columns and name them header left, header mid and header right, and assign them to a function called st.columns. And inside the square brackets, we will mention that the middle column needs to be 3 times the size than the other 2 columns. And we will also mention the gap between them needs to be large. Next, we will do with header mid colon, and then we will do st.title and give the title as Facebook Campaign Dashboard and save the file. We will now switch over to the web app, open in our browser and hit on rerun, and there we go, we have our title now. Now let's build our sidebar components which will act as our filters for the data. To do that, we will again use with st.sidebar and type in campaign filter, and we will assign this to st.multiselect function. And in the brackets, we will give it a label called select the campaign, and for the options parameter, we will use pandas.unique method to select our unique campaign names. We will be doing the same thing for the default parameter as well. As you can see, this will return only the unique campaign names which are present in our data. We will do the exact same thing to build filters for the age and gender columns as well. Let's save the file and go to our app and hit rerun again. Now we have our filters in the sidebar. While these do not filter anything right now, the next thing for us to do would be to connect these filters to our data and display some KPIs on our dashboard. Let's head back to VS Code to see how to do that. Let's create another data frame, and we will use pandas query method, which will enable us to query the columns of our original data frame with a boolean expression and pass it to a new data frame. Inside the brackets, we will use our original column names in the dataset and assign them to our filters which we created just now. Please note that we will be using double equal signs to assign the column name to the filter name and the ampersand sign to separate each filter from one another. Now, let's start building our metrics. For our dashboard, we will calculate the sum of impressions. To do this, we will use the pandas sum method on the impressions column in our query dataset on which the filters have been applied, namely df1. We will also do the same to calculate the total number of clicks, the total amount spent on the campaign, the number of conversions, and finally the total number of approved conversions in the dataset. Next, let's create 5 columns and name them total1 to total5 and assign them to st.columns function. Inside the brackets this time we will just mention the number of columns and that the gap between the columns needs to be large. I have created a folder named images in our project folder and placed some icon images into it. To get these images, head over to flaticon.com where you can find thousands of icons for free. Just search for the desired icon like I did, select the one that you like, select the size and hit download. Please remember to include an attribution link if you're using Flaticon for free. I will include all the links to the icons that I used in this video in the description. Let's start putting everything together. We will start by doing with total1 and first use the st.image function to select our downloaded icon, which is inside the images folder in our original project folder. We will also set one more parameter called use column width to auto. By setting this to auto, Streamlit will take care of how much space this icon should take up in the total1 column. Next, we will use the st.metric function and in brackets, we will give it a label and a value to display. We will pass the total impressions which we just calculated and wrap it with the numerize function. Numerize basically converts numerical format numbers into the compact short form. Now, let's save our file, switch to the app and hit rerun and we have our first metric. We will also do the same to the remaining metrics. Hit save and rerun the app. And ta-da! We have all our metrics on the dashboard. We can start using our filters on these metrics to view campaign specific, age specific and gender specific details. As you can see, the filters work just fine on the data that we have. After this, we will proceed to chart some KPIs. To do this, let's divide our app into 4 different quadrants, Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4. We will be using each quadrant for one of our charts, so 4 charts in total. We will assign Q1 and Q2 to st.columns. Now let's do with Q1 and we will create another data frame called df3 and then we will use pandas group by on df1. We will group by campaign and find the sum of impressions and clicks, and finally we will use the reset index method on the new data frame so that we have our campaigns in a column rather than the index. Our first KPI is click-through rate. It simply means out of all the views our ad has got, how many people or what percentage of people actually clicked on the ad. Now, to calculate the click-through rate, we have to divide the total number of clicks with the total number of impressions and multiply it with 100. We will also round it off to 3 decimal places. We will use a bar chart to plot this data. We'll use plotly bar chart and use df3 as our data. We'll use campaign names on the x-axis and click-through rate on the y-axis. We will give it a title called click-through rate and make it bold. We will also update the layout of the chart a little bit by centering the title on the x-axis, changing the background color to white, turning off the grid inside the x-axis and y-axis. Lastly, we will plot the figure using st.plotlychart and pass in the chart name and also tell Streamlit to use the entire width of the container by setting the use container width to true. Now, let's do a line chart to show impressions per day for the 3 campaigns in our dataset. To do that, we'll use plotly line chart and simply use the data from df1. On the x-axis, we will give the date column and on the y-axis, we'll use the impressions column. Now, to plot separate lines for 3 different campaigns, we'll have to set the color parameter to campaign and give it a title daily impressions by campaign. Now, to this line chart, let's add a date range slider. Let's update the chart layout a little bit and give the date range slider a default value and copy over the remaining. We'll plot the chart using st.plotlychart. and move over to our web application now and hit rerun, and we have our line chart now. It's really that simple to use Streamlit. Anybody can do it. Let's quickly do two more charts before moving on to our styling. We'll initiate two more columns, Q3 and Q4. Starting with Q3, we'll first do a group by gender and find the sum of spend column. After that, we'll use Plotly pie chart and pass in our data frame, D4 for data and gender for names and spend for values. We'll update the layout a little bit and then plot the pie chart. Finally, using Q4, we'll do one more bar chart and plot the cost per conversion. This time we'll do a group by age and do a sum of spent and conversion columns. To calculate, we'll simply divide total conversions by total ad spent. This will give us cost per conversion for different age groups in our dataset. We'll again use Plotly bar chart to plot this data and update the layout. Moving on to our styling part of the video. I have created a folder named .streamlit and inside that created a new file called config.toml. In this, just copy over the parameters I have included as shown in the video and you should be done with the styling part. Feel free to play around with the colors and experiment. The styling possibilities are literally endless. For our next video, I will show you how to upload our project to GitHub and deploy it to Streamlit Cloud so that anyone on the internet can view it. It is very simple and should not take more than 10 minutes. Thank you for watching and please like and subscribe and comment below.